Hello, everyone. Okay, so let's see who is joining us for the final session of this summit. You have no idea how excited I am. Hello, hello, hello. If you're joining in, just say hello, okay? So, this is the final session of this summit. Finally, I am so excited. You have no idea. And joining us today is Dr. Vivian Okoye. So, it's more like saving the best for the last. So, she's going to be teaching us how to cope with stress as parents. Okay, don't lose your mind, don't lose your sanity during this lockdown, during this crisis, whether you have kids or not. Just come and learn, because these are lifetime lessons that are going to help you. So I have gotten my own pen and paper ready, and I hope you have too. And the next person you're going to be hearing from is Dr. Vivian. Hello, Dr.
Okay.
Vivian.
Hello, Doc. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so excited to be doing this. You're doing an amazing work and you have an amazing community. I'm so excited to share with you guys
Thank
this
you.
afternoon. I'm so sorry I have to apologize for not being here on Saturday. Yeah, on Saturday. My session was supposed to be on Saturday, but I wasn't able to make it. We had network and light issues and I couldn't make it for that broadcast. So I'd like to apologize for that. Thank you for having me. And this morning, is it morning, afternoon? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me.
Can hear you very well.
Oh, right. Okay. So this morning we want to talk about how to cope with parenting stress during this period. There's no doubt that we're going through a difficult time. We're going through a time in history that none of us living in this time has ever really gone through. It's really an interesting time and not an easy one for everyone. Um, and as parents, we have our normal stress, and but this time we are saddled with the responsibility of not just being a parent, but being a parent, being a pastor, being a teacher, having to work from home. Like most of us are on lockdown, most of us are in the home, and we're working from home. We have to be productive with the work front or with the business front, or we are thinking about what becomes of our business, and then we have to also take care of the family. So it's really, really, really so much to do, and it has the tendency of putting us in a more stressful situation. So that's what we want to talk about this morning. How do we really handle this situation and make the best use of this time? How do we go through this time without losing our minds? How do we through this time without breaking down? Because we know the effects of stress. If you're a part of this community, then you must have learned so much about stress and about all the ways stress can really harm us. So my name is Dr. Vivian Okoye. I am a parenting coach. I specifically work with new parents and young parents. I am a toddler parenting expert. So I help parents to elevate their consciousness, to embrace their authenticity, to discover their superpower, to develop it, and to, you know, raise wholesome 21st century kids. That's what I do. I am a coach, I am an author, and um, I have worked with a lot of parents. My work has been featured in different newspaper, television, and TV stations, right? And radio stations. So this afternoon I want to take us through understanding what parenting stress is, what we can do about it. So first of all, what are we talking about? What is actually parenting stress? If you're following Dr. I just assume that you should know what stress is. what stress is, but for the purpose of what we're discussing, parenting stress. Um, Parenting stress is actually stress on its own is actually that anything that pressures you, anything that makes you tense, overwhelmed, frustrates you, give you physical strain, or causes you emotional strain, right? Now, when you're talking about parenting stress, you're talking about anything that is associated with your parenting that has the capacity of giving you this same emotional, physical strain, anything that has the capacity of straining you or making you frustrated or making you overwhelmed or elevating your anxiety level, right? So that is parenting stress. Now, when you're talking about parenting stress, most parents associate it with working with parents. Most parenting stress are associated with children's behavior. When you talk to parents about their stress, they are trying to point you out to the things that their children do that stress them out. I don't know if I'm communicating. Can you still hear me? Hello? Can you still hear me? I need to know if I'm
Yes,
I need to
I
know
can
if
hear you
you can
very
hear me.
well. I muted
Okay,
my
okay.
audio. Yes.
Okay, all right. So I need to be sure I'm not talking to myself. So when you talk to parents, most parents, they are telling you about behaviors or things around the home that stress them, right? But the truth is that most parenting stress are actually underlying expression. When we express stress as parents, it's like there are underlying factors that causes this stress. For instance, there are things that amplify our parenting stress, which most likely or more often than not are things that we experience in our lives. For instance,
We can't hear you again.
and you are thinking of what becomes of your business. Everybody is dealing with anxiety, everybody is dealing with the overwhelm that is coming with the uncertainties. Nobody knows what will happen, nobody knows how long we're going to be stayed locked down, right? Now, this has the capacity of inducing stress in you. And even though you're not talking about these things, it now has a way of making you easily irritable. So your child does one small thing, you're going to snap out based on the fact that you already have something that is already overwhelming you and stressing you. Not necessarily that what your child has done requires that kind of reaction or has that capacity to stress you and overwhelm you so much, right? So most times, the stress that we express or that saddle us as parents, that we associate to parenting, may not necessarily be coming from parenting directly. It may be coming from overwhelm in our mind. So how do you handle stress? In our everyday life, stress is inevitable. There are a lot of things that can trigger us. There are a lot of things, even in this time, there are a lot of things that can trigger stress. In this time that we are doing, even the lockdown can trigger our stress level because we are cooped up in the house. We cannot go out. We don't have our freedom. That's enough to trigger our stress level. The information overwhelm. Now we are stuck with our phone. We are living online, so there is a lot, your emails are being bombarded, your social media is being bombarded. That's enough to trigger us to trigger our stress level, right? So stress is inevitable. But why we are having this conversation today is to find out how we can navigate our way through the stressful situation, through the constant stress triggers that we encounter every day in our lives. All of us here should know by now that stress is not good for us. I know we had an extensive discussion yesterday about all the effects of stress, which includes depression and anxiety, sleep problems, autoimmune disease, heart disease, weight problems, reproductive issue, memory issues, right? So these are the side effects of stress. And when you know these things, when you realize that stress has the capacity of dragging you to the point of
Okay, we can't hear you now. We can't hear you. Dr. Vivian. Okay, Dr. Vivian, can you leave the broadcast and please come back again?
Am I still communicating? Am I still communicating?
We couldn't hear you for like 1 minute.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that the first step to handling parenting stress, just like any other stress management technique, is to identify the source of our stress, right? Like I said earlier, I said that most times parenting stress are kind of like associated stress. They have external factors that make them more expressed, right? It may not necessarily be tied to your parenting or tied to your children or tied to the family situation. It may be things that are external that are overwhelming you, and then before you know it, you're reacting to the immediate behaviors of your children, thinking that they are the main source of your stress. They may not be the main source of our stress. So the first questions to ask yourself are, what are the things that are stressing me in my environment, right? It can be the news, it can be social media, it can be people. If you're around toxic people, if you're around people who don't have anything good to say, if you're around people who are always being pessimistic, for instance, in this COVID-19 situation, if you are around somebody who is always talking about how many people that have died, how many people that are infected, that has a tendency of overwhelming you. And before you know it, your thought pattern becomes, oh, we're all going to die. Oh, what if I get this coronavirus? Oh, what if, and what if? And before you know it, you're already overwhelmed in your head, and there is no way you're going to function well in your with people around you and with your kids. Anything, you're going to be easily irritable, and anything, because you're overwhelmed in your head, anything around you is going to any small thing around you is going to overwhelm you. Another way of identifying the source of your stress is to notice that thing in your daily life. For instance, a particular behavior that your child exhibits, for instance, a particular way that people around you do things in the home that has the capacity of stressing you. So the first step to handling parenting stress is to understand your your stress triggers, right? So how do you understand your stress triggers? This is where self-awareness is important. Self-awareness is a very important tool in parenting. You have to know yourself. You have to know the things that trigger you. You have to pay attention to your emotions and know when they are spiking. So when your child does something and you find out that this thing made you shout, or this thing is getting you angry, the right thing to do at that moment is to pause and ask yourself why is this thing triggering me so much? Why am I reacting this way to this behavior? Does this behavior deserve this kind of reaction? Is this reaction commensurate to this behavior that I am, as in, is the reaction I'm giving to this behavior commensurate to the behavior that my child has just put out? Right? So when you try to practice this, it's not a one-off thing. So when you try to practice this often, you now tend to realize the situations around your home that trigger you into stress. So the way you know what triggers you is by paying attention, paying attention to your own palpitations, paying attention to the way you feel, paying attention to your emotions, paying attention to your moods, right? Does waking up late trigger you? Does not doing things in the right way trigger you? then when you pay attention to that, you can now begin to find a way of adjusting, right? You can now begin to find a way of adjusting. For instance, if you don't like a certain way, if you're living with older kids, and for instance, they don't arrange their rooms, and this pinches you, because it pinches you so much because there is already enormous amount of stress triggers on the outward. There's a lot going on in the world, and everybody is going through a difficult time. So it is good that you pay attention to the ones that you can control. So if you're living with adults and you find out that some of their behaviors trigger you, then you need to address those things. You need to call them and speak to them and tell them. You need to call your people and sit down. If you notice that one particular thing triggers you, instead of continuously putting yourself in a stress situation, you need to address it. Find a way of addressing it. If communication is the way of addressing it, sit the person down, communicate to the person. It can even be your spouse. Probably you're triggered by the way your spouse responds to you, or the way your spouse speaks to you, or the way your spouse speaks to your kids, or the way your spouse handle the kids, or the way your spouse does something in the home. Then you need to communicate. But you cannot communicate if you have not realized that this is a trigger. So the foundation of handling stress, any type of stress, parenting stress, work stress, any type of stress at all, is by spotting your trigger. Because it's only when you spot your trigger that you can now take the appropriate steps to put those things in place or to address the situation. Another tool for handling parenting stress is emotion coaching, right? Emotion coaching, learning how to handle your emotions is really important, because we are emotional beings, and a lot of things in our environment, in our daily lives, are going to trigger some emotions in us. No emotion is bad, no emotion is ugly. The only thing that make it wrong or right is what you do with the emotion. So emotion coaching is important, and it's also something that you might want to learn, you might want to practice, and get used to. So for instance, my daughter is 5 years old, and I started introducing her to emotion coaching. She has quite a temper, right? So I started introducing her to some emotion coaching techniques. It's never early to start teaching your children, but you cannot teach them if you are not practicing it. So you have to first of all learn how to coach yourself and how to manage your emotions, so that you can also teach your kids. So, contrary to popular opinion, people think that when you talk about emotion coaching, it means denying your emotions or denying the reality of things. No, emotion coaching is actually a conversation between your thinking mind. In general terms, emotion coaching is a conversation between your thinking mind and your emotional mind. That is, when you have a stress trigger, right? Let's say, for instance, okay, let me still use the COVID-19 situation. Is a stress trigger because there's a lot of uncertainties. People are dying, people are getting sick, right? So it's a stress trigger. But the way you react to the situation is dependent on the interaction that is going on between your emotional mind and your thinking mind. That is the story you're telling yourself about the COVID-19 situation. For instance, we have two men. One man is saying, oh, this COVID is going to kill all of us. Oh, this COVID is going to kill all of us. And then you have another man who says, well, I agree that the situation at hand is very difficult, but I know that in everything there is purpose and we are going to come out of this stronger. These are two people being faced with the same challenges, right? But one is telling himself a negative story, and another is telling himself an empowering story. Who do you think is going to be more stressed out by the whole situation? Of course, that would be the man who is telling himself a negative story. So emotion coaching tells you that You should be aware of what you're telling yourself about your stress triggers, right? So you have a stressful situation. Emotion coaching is telling you that you should pause and be mindful of the story you tell yourself about the situation at hand, right? Emotion coaching helps you to prevent unwanted emotional reactions. It helps you to put your emotions in check. It helps you to deactivate overwhelming emotions, and it can help you to change the way you're thinking about a particular situation, right? So when you're faced with a stressful situation, let's say you have a child who throws a lot of tantrums, or you have a teenager who is disturbing you, who doesn't just want to listen to you, or who doesn't just want to listen to anything you have to say, right? One question you want to ask yourself if you want to employ the emotion coaching technique is there any other way? Always ask yourself, is there a better way to look at this situation? So now you have your teenage son who doesn't just want to listen to anything you're saying. Is there any way, any other way you can look at this situation? Can you reframe it? So instead of telling yourself that this boy is so stubborn, he just wants to kill me, want to give me hypertension, you can tell yourself something like, okay, maybe my son is also going through a difficult time. Maybe this lockdown is also affecting him. Maybe he's reacting this way because he cannot even go out, he cannot see his friends. Maybe he's reacting this way because his own life is altered. Maybe my young child is reacting this way because they don't understand what is going on, right? So when you learn to try to be in control of the stories that you tell yourself about the stressful situations that you encounter, always look at it in a way that empowers you. Always look at it. Let the stories you tell yourself about the stress triggers be an empowering story. Leave everything that you cannot control and look at the ones that you can control, right? Reframe the stories that you tell yourself. There's no harm in being positive. What do you gain from telling yourself the worst case scenario? Why not go for the best case scenario, right? So that's what emotion coaching does for you, right? It says, look at the best way you can tell yourself. That is the conversation you're having with your emotional mind and your thinking mind, right? Because now, whatever story you settle for is what will inform your reaction, is what will inform your body, right? Is what will inform whether the level of stress that you're going to be operating on, right? So another thing to do is to set daily emotional goals. Daily emotional goals. This is also an emotion okay, certain behaviors trigger me.
We
When my
lost
child
you for about 30 seconds.
you say,
When you started with daily emotional goals, we lost you there.
oh, oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so I was saying that some other emotional coaching strategies is also setting emotional goals, right? And when, as I'm assuming that at this point you should have been able to spot what your triggers are, what your normal stress triggers are, right? And you have that in check. It is advised, it is recommended that when you wake up in the morning, you should set an emotional goal for yourself. You wake up in the morning, you say your prayers, or you do whatever your routines are in the morning. Also have a routine for setting your emotional goal. You can take 2 to 3 minutes and sit down and determine how you want to feel in that day. Do I want to feel happier? Do I want to feel less tense? You want to do when you wake up in the morning. You set your daily emotional goal. What this does for you is that we're not saying you're not going to encounter stress. But because you have set a goal of how you want to react to the challenges that life will throw out at you that day, when the challenges come, you're operating from a place of power, not from a place of defeat. Because you know that, okay, I said to myself this morning that no matter what life throws at me this morning, I'm going to be calm, right? So that's what setting emotional goal does for you. So you set your daily emotional goal, you wake up in the morning and you say, wow, it's another day, we made it. Yes, I have a toddler. He's going to throw tantrums. I have a teenager. We are going to have our squabble today, but I am going to react from a place of calm. Today, I promise myself that I will be calm no matter what life throws at me. When you do this continually, it registers, it becomes a habit, right? It becomes a habit for you. It becomes a habit, and unconsciously, it registers in your unconscious, and it becomes an unconscious reaction to stress or to whatever challenges you might be facing, right? So set emotional goals daily. Another strategy is to do what we call parry or distancing. Parry means, if you watch boxing, it means what boxers do, right? When two boxers are boxing, you see that when someone boxes, you dodge it, right? You dodge as in you block the obstacle, the punch that is coming your way. You give it an obstacle. So you can also do that with stress or stress triggers, or you do distancing. So you have a situation, for instance, you are working at home. If you are listening very well, you notice that my child was crying, right? Let's say, for instance, you're working at home and then something happens. Maybe somebody breaks a plate in the kitchen, right? That has a way of triggering parents, right? But you can decide to dodge it. Just put a block, like act like you don't know what is going on. As far as you know that whoever is in the kitchen is old enough to handle the situation. So you don't let it trigger you, right? You don't let it trigger you. When it is something that, for instance, I tell parents that no matter what your children are doing, no matter what your children are doing, if they are not hurting themselves, if they are not hurting another person, and if they are not destroying a property, then let them be. That is the only way you can get by with having to deal with the kids 24/7 in this period. You cannot be in control of everything. You cannot monitor every singular situation that goes on in the house. So just pay attention. If they are not hurting themselves, if they are not hurting another person, and if they are not destroying properties, then let it slide, right? Then sometimes you need to walk away from stressful situations, distance yourself. You know that this thing has the capacity of triggering you or making you react in an explosive way. Just walk away, distract yourself. You can use humor, especially when you're dealing with smaller kids. You come into a situation that has the capacity of triggering you. Sometimes just use humor. If it's not a life-threatening situation, use humor. Humor is a tool in parenting, right? You can distract yourself. Depending on what the situation is, you can just take a walk away from the home, right? The idea is that, see, if you continue to dwell on things that trigger your stress, then you're going to be stressed so much and you're going to break down. So we should learn how to ignore some things that that doesn't pose any threat, immediate threats to us. You can walk away and come back when you're calm to address a situation. If you know that this thing is triggering you, and before you know it, you're yelling, you're shouting, and your stress level is rising, you can walk away, breathe, take a walk, humor yourself, and then tell yourself a better story about the situation. Then come back. If you have to address it with disciplining your child, if you have to address it with having a talk with your child, or whoever the culprit or whoever the situation has to do with, if it's a talk, if it's discipline, whatever you need to do, don't do it when you are angry. Don't do it in the heat of the moment. You're going to increase your stress level, and it's not good for you. It's not also good for the people in your care, right? So you learn to, block stress or to distance yourself from stress. It is a strategy when you are handling stress, right? So another thing that can help us this period is also to create a routine. To create a routine. If you notice, if you're a parent and you're listening to me, if you notice with this lockdown and having to stay at home, kids not going to school, when their routine altered, they are more likely to have behavior issues. They are more likely to, show, right? Routine and structure has a way of putting children in place. Children do not are not good with not knowing what to expect. So creating a structure and having a definite and predictable routine that is consistent in your home is a way of making life easy for yourself and ensuring that your children have structure that takes care of them, so that you don't have to be shouting with each thing or each task that you want them to do. So it can be in a week or daily. Maybe before you sleep, you sit down and plan the structure and communicate with everybody. Tomorrow, when we wake up, this is what we are going to do. After this activity, this is what we're going to do. After this activity, this is what we're going to do. Incorporate fun activity, incorporate structured activity, incorporate activities that they like, incorporate downtimes, incorporate screen times to whatever activity that you're structuring into the day, right? Let it be a mix of serious activities and activities that they will have choose. Let them be part. If you have children who have grown, let them be part of structuring the routine so that they feel like this was part of their idea, so that when you remind them in the day that you're supposed to be doing this thing, not this thing, it's easier for them to cooperate with you. So routine, creating a routine and having a workable structure in your home is very important so that your children can, right? When you communicate in the day what the activities are going to be, you everybody goes about their own activities, and then all you have to do is to supervise or to assist where you are needed, as against when there's no structure. Everybody wakes up, and every day you wake up you have to start giving instructions again. That is overwhelming, if you ask me. So one thing you might want to do is to create a workable routine. Then another thing that can help you is to compartmentalize. What I call compartmentalization is, as a parent, you're going to have 1,001 things to do. For instance, you might be doing the cooking now, and then you remember that you have a report to write, to submit, and then you remember that you have a social media post to do, but you are cooking, right? You are cooking. There is really nothing you can do about the two other tasks that you need to do. So you have to finish cooking before you can do those ones. Why not focus on the cooking? Let your mind be on the cooking. You can call it practicing presence, you can call it compartmentalization, right? So put everything that you have to do in compartments and focus on the activity that you're doing part time. Don't be cooking and then you're thinking about all the work that needs to be done. That is going to overwhelm you. That is going to put you in a state of stress, right? So how to compartmentalize, learn how to learn how to be present with any activity that you are doing part time. Don't overburden yourself with all the things that you have to do. That will only distract you and overwhelm you, and you don't even do the one you're doing efficiently. And before you know it, you can't do anything. You're stressed, you're tired in your head, right? So learn how to compartmentalize, learn how to um be present with task per time, you know. And then another important thing, in fact, this should have been the first thing, is self-care. Self-care. In every day that you wake up and you write your to-do list, please, it is important that should be a self-care activity in your to-do list, right? Self-care is not selfish. And even if it is selfish, then it is a good selfish. Because if you are not in a good place mentally, you are not going to be able to take care of those that are in your care and are looking up to you to take care of them, right? There was a recent research by a psychologist, Emmy Werner, and it showed that parents who were anxious had the had a 90% tendency of ignoring or under-responding to their children's need. So anxiety is not good as a parent. Being overwhelmed is not good for you as a parent. Being overwhelmed is not good for you as a parent, right? So self-care is important. You have to prioritize your self-care because your sanity is good. Your sanity is needed for you to parent well and for you to go through this period. So self-care doesn't have to be something luxurious. It doesn't have to be something extraordinary. It can be something like taking a walk, taking a bath, practicing meditation, breathing exercise, taking 5 to 10 minutes and being by yourself, with yourself and for yourself, right? So self care can be just having a meal that you love, soaking your leg in warm water. Those are self care practices. So you have to pay attention to your self care. You have to put self care in your to do list every day. Another technique would be to put pen on paper. Most time what we are suffering from, like I said initially, is not necessarily that the situations in our home is the cause of our overwhelm, anxiety and stress. So sometimes when you feel, if you're paying attention to your emotions, when you're feeling that you're being easily irritated, when you feel that you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling anxious, put your pen on paper. Ask yourself, what exactly is the source of this anxiety? Right? Write it. Write them down. What are the things you need to do? What are the things that are overwhelming you? What are your worries? The more you write about them and face them face to face, the easier it is for you, right? If it's your child's behavior, write it down. Then begin to ask yourself what you can do about these things, right? Begin to ask yourself what you can do about these things. Above all, we're all going through a difficult time. Everybody in the world, every nation of the world is going through a difficult time, right? But we have to understand that I don't know if we're all Christians here, but I know that the Bible says everything works together. And I know that the Bible says that everything works together for my good. So if there is COVID-19 in the world, it's certainly going to turn out for my good. And how do I know that it's going to turn out for my good? Is by asking myself the purpose of this whole thing in my life at this moment. What should I be doing now? I cannot control what is going on in the world. I cannot change what is going on in the world. While I wait for a solution to come, what should I do now? What should I do on a daily basis? What should I do to protect myself, my family, my loved one? What should I do to protect my mental state? What should I do to protect my sanity? Right? So you take it one day at a time. And there is nobody says that you are going to be perfect, right? Or you're not going to lose it as a parent and then, yell and, yell, feel anxious, feel guilty, and at the end, give yourself permission to fail. Some days you're going to wake up, you're going to feel like walking and you walk. Some days you're going to wake up, you're going to be lazy and you don't feel like walking. Yes, try to encourage yourself, but if it's not working, then relax, flow with it, flow with what your body and your mind is telling you for time. And when you fail, there is no harm. Be quick to forgive yourself. When you're triggered, you feel that your child has triggered you so much. Be quick to forgive those who have triggered you or those whom you have lashed out at. One way to do this is that at the end of the day, you can come together as a family and talk about the day, apologize where necessary, and restart. Envision your best self and then decide to start together again on a good note the next day, right? So so in essence, I'll try to, recapture everything that I have said so far. I said that the first step in trying to manage your stress as a parent is by spotting your triggers. There are triggers every day, everywhere, around everywhere you look. Especially in this time, we already have enough external triggers by considering what is going on in the world. Then look around you also and know the things that intensify your triggers the more, right? When you pay attention, you can now begin to work out ways of handling these triggers or avoiding these triggers. Then we talked about emotion coaching strategies, where we said that you should always reframe the stories you tell yourself about your triggers or about the stressful situations that present themselves to you on a daily basis. How you look at the stress will determine, or how you look at the event or the situation will determine how stressed you become, right? So always look at the best case scenario instead of looking at the worst case scenario. Why not look at the best case scenario, right? Why not look at the best case scenario? You have nothing to lose, right? Then we also said we should always set daily emotional goals. When you wake up in the morning, determine how you want to react. You don't have any control of what life is going to bring your way on a daily basis, but you can choose how to react. So, on a daily basis, set your daily emotional goals and determine how you're going to react. We're not saying you're going to be all perfect and that, but we're saying that because you have a goal, your goal is because you have a goal lodged somewhere in your mind. When those stressful situations present themselves, instead of just losing it outrightly, you're going to remember that you promised yourself to react in a certain way. Then we also said you can block or distance yourself from anything that has the capacity of pressuring you or amounting stress on you. Then I said we should create a routine and structure in our home to help guide our children and those that depend on us, and also give us some leeway and some time, to do the things that we want to do. So you don't have to keep on talking and guiding on a daily basis. Put a structure that tells children what to do, like a routine. After this, we do this. After that, we do this. If you have older kids, it's easier. So you don't even have to follow them and be running all around instructing them, right? So put a structure. Then we say practice presence or compartmentalization, which simply means focus on what you're doing part time. You cannot you cannot do five things at a time. Focus on the particular thing you're doing part time. And then we said self-care. You should practice self-care, and you should also learn to journal. You should learn to write out the sources of your overwhelm. And as you write them down and face them face to face, that is almost having them half solved. And the more you say it, the more you can find ways of addressing them appropriately. So I think that's for now, and I will look forward to your questions and answer your questions as they come. I hope, yeah. Dr. Ezine, I hope I was not talking to myself.
No, you were not. Guys, if you have any questions, please write them down because she still have 15 minutes with us, okay? The parenting
Okay.
coach. If you did not learn anything, I'm sorry, oh, I cannot help you, oh, because me, I learned something. In fact, I learned several things, not just one. Thank you so much, Dr. Vivian. You know, when you talked
So,
about setting daily emotional goals, I was like,
yeah.
wow, wow. So I can actually choose how I want my day to be, whether to be happy, whether to let
Yeah.
circumstances hit me black and blue, or whether I will
Yeah.
dodge them. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that analogy of the wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
Dodging stress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that one has stuck. It has
Yeah.
stuck. So I'm ready. Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you so much, guys. Please send in your questions now. Okay, she's here to take any questions. Hello, hello.
Say hello.
So she's here to take all our questions on parenting stress because this period of COVID-19, so many information out there. In fact, I have a question for you. Okay, well, before I answer your question, can you tell us how we can reach you? How we can contact you?
Okay, okay. I have you can follow me on my social media platform. My name on Facebook is Vivian Okoye. Vivian with a double N. Viviann. Okoye. I have a Facebook group where I share daily parenting tips. In fact, we're currently running a challenge of how to connect with your children better in this period, and the group is Conscious Parents Community. So you can also have me there. And if you prefer Instagram, my name on Instagram is at Vivian.Okoye. That is Viviann. So I think
Okay,
those
I'm
are
going
the
to put it on the screen now.
okay, all right.
So this
Okay.
is her Facebook name. For Instagram, Vivian.Okoye. Then Facebook
Mhm.
group, Conscious Parents Community. Okay, so you can reach her
Yeah.
on any of these. You can also join her platform where she teaches daily on parenting, conscious parenting, because this period of parenting has to be so intentional. It's not something we take by chance. So,
Yeah.
what was my question?
Okay.
Um, Okay, my question is this, okay? During this period of lockdown, there are a lot of information out there about how to homeschool your children, sites
Okay.
to use to train your kids, things to use and
Okay.
keep your kids busy. So many
Okay.
sites, so many information. Like how do we know the best one to follow? How do we without the overwhelm or without the pressure from others, where we must do something, we must keep our kids busy so that they can come out the best and things like that. So how do we manage this pressure, and also how do we choose the best sites,
Okay.
to go
Okay.
about these things without losing our mind?
Okay. Okay. So for homeschooling, I would say number one, you don't need to pressure yourself. Hmm? Um when if you have little kids, if you have little kids from 0 to 1, 0 to 4, play is learning for them, right? So you just ensure that you structure your home in a way that your kids can do independent play, and then you don't have to pressure yourself about what they have learned or what they have not learned, right? Determine. Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, so you determine what your goal is. So you can decide that in a week, for instance, my daughter is 5. For this week, what we're learning is we're learning about money, and we're learning about how to tell the time, right?
Mm,
So I'm going to use everything, not just sitting her down on pen and paper, right? I'm going to use everything to teach her about money, right? So we're cooking, and she brings, and I tell her to pass me Maggie. I'm going to tell her, do you know how much Maggie costs in the market? I'm going to use all that to teach her about money, and to teach her about whatever we're doing. I'll also use it to teach her about time. Then I'll also use it to teach her whatever we're doing. Maybe if she's wasting time, I also teach her the importance of time, right? And teach her use clock also and wristwatch to teach her how to tell the time. So the thing is, set goals. You can work with your child's school and get the curriculum. After all, that is where your child is schooling. So get a scheme of work of what they are set to do for the third term. And then you can take it one day at a time. You can say in a week, in this week, this is what we are going to learn. We're going to learn about sounds, we're going to learn about nouns, or we're going to learn about adjectives. And then you take them one day at a time. There's really no need to pressure yourself with all those with all the different sites. If you go to the site and you see resources that match your goal or that match the scheme of work that you have collected from your child's school, then you can use those resources to buttress your point. If not, there is really no need overwhelming yourself with unnecessary information.
Wow.
I don't know if I made my point.
Yes, you really did. I took something very important there. We must not do the
Mm,
conventional method of sitting down with pen and paper to start teaching. We can just incorporate
yeah,
it in the day-to-day
you're
activity.
doing,
So long as you've set your
yeah,
goal for the week, this is
mm,
new,
yeah,
so insightful, and it
mm,
relieves pressure, of waiting till you
yeah,
set a particular time to do something
fine,
while you're doing
yes,
things for teaching. This is really, really fantastic. This is really fantastic.
mm,
Thank you so much for this knowledge. Thank you for this
you're
insight.
welcome,
Okay,
you're
so
welcome.
do we have any other question? Does anybody have any question? Okay, for those that will be rewatching this later, go ahead to send in your questions, okay? I'll tag her to your questions and she will answer them, okay? If you're rewatching this
Yeah,
afterwards. So, what do we have to say to hello? Hello. You see, before we're talking about teen parenting, you're trying to do something and all of a sudden they just come from nowhere to for
I'm
their own.
telling you,
So that's what she's telling us about building your mastering emotional coaching, because there are people that these kind of things can get frustrated. Okay, they'll get so irritable just because a child came to, block them from what they are doing or interrupt what they are doing. So just practice all the things you have learned today, and you build, as in, you'll be so resilient to any form of parenting stress. So please, guys, what do we have to say to Dr. Vivian Okoye, who has brought out time to teach us? Because if you, she usually hosts parenting boot camp, and that boot camp is 15,000 naira.
yes.
15,000 naira, right? Yeah, parenting
You
boot
said,
camp. I mean,
okay,
your
no,
boot
we are currently doing effective communication and
camp.
discipline strategies. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, that training is tailored at this homeschooling stuff, because I'm really scared, because a lot of parents are easily triggered. So I started to wonder how they can manage with having to homeschool children, especially the toddlers and the preschoolers who are always all over the place. So we structured that training, effective communication and discipline strategies for parents, especially for toddler parents and preschool and parents of preschoolers. It's coming up on May 8th and it's currently 3,500 until 30th of April, after which it becomes 5,000. So
Okay.
that's the thing we are currently doing now. Yeah.
So, guys, I really encourage you to jump on this great offer 3,500, just not to
Yeah.
lose your sanity, because we have no idea when this COVID-19 crisis is going to be over. So the worst thing you're going
Yeah.
to do right now is to lower your immunity due to any form of stress. Okay, so
Mm.
just jump
Yeah.
on this great offer that she has given us right now, okay, at 3,500 before by 30th of April, after which it becomes 5,000. So thank you
Yeah.
so, 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 so much. As in,
Thank
I have
you.
learned a lot at no cost, though. So
Thank you so
we
much
are
for
really
having me.
grateful. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Vivian.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank
people
you.
are appreciating you. Thank you a lot, ma. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thanks. You're doing an amazing job. Thanks.
I appreciate. Thank you. So, guys, finally, we have arrived at the last day of the Stress Management Summit. Don't mind my voice. I am so excited. I don't know about you guys, because if I share the story of this Stress Management Summit from the beginning to this particular moment, you will understand how excited I am. As in, man, do you even have any idea that this is the first virtual stress management summit in Africa? Do you have any idea? So if you missed it, I am sorry. Oh. If you're catching the replay, well done. So I encourage you guys, for all the teachings, if you missed anyone, go and watch them now, because some people have sent messages about not being able to catch up with the videos. So because of the good hearts, I'm going to extend those videos to this week, Saturday this week. So binge watch all of them. Binge watch all of them. Don't miss any of the videos, okay? Because these are lifetime sessions. These are lifetime lessons that you're going to use for every stage of your life, okay? It's not something like you just learn it and forget it. No, it's something you apply, okay? So in that regard, I don't know if for those of you that weren't with me yesterday when I talked about healthy productivity curve, when I talked about how to work at peak performance and still be resilient to stress without breaking down, I thought about a wonderful curve, a new concept. It's not in Google. I designed it myself, okay? So if you didn't get that, I encourage you to go and watch my session that we did yesterday evening with Chess Moulton. I had my session after him, okay? So go and watch it. And for those that were not there yesterday, I made a special announcement, and that announcement is I am now a new author, okay? I wrote a book. Let me see if I can share my screen with you so that you see it. I wrote a book at great offer. And that's not even the best part. This book has come with so many, I'm sorry, okay. Look at this. I'm sorry that this is the first screen you're seeing, but that's not the main point. So this book has come with so many bonuses, okay? This is it. Now, this is the curve I talked about. Make sure you watch it. Make sure you watch the previous video to understand this lesson, this lifetime lesson that you can always apply every time. Now, aside that, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. So this is the curve. Make sure you watch it. And this is the book I have written, okay? Stress We Are Done. Practical ways to manage various life stresses and to work at peak performance, including relatable stories from real people. And this book has 4 sections, okay? The first session is It Is Not Your Fault, to help you understand that the reason why you're undergoing anything you're going through, all right? And the second session is Are You Aware? This will help you to identify when your body is telling you stop, stop, stop. That's something that is so unique to you alone, okay? And the third one is how to manage any form of stress at all, no matter the level of your life or no matter what you're doing in life. You are going to learn how to manage any form of stress and also help people to manage their stresses. And the last one is how to build resilience to stress, okay? So the release date is going to be on the 22nd of May 2020, and if you pre-order before then, you're going to get a bonus of 100 days affirmation e-calendar, okay? I'm just going to run this through quickly because this is not the aim of what I'm doing now. And this is the 100 days affirmation calendar, and this is what people are saying about it. And for the first 50 people that pre-order, you're going to join the 7 days distress challenge for free. You're not paying the 10,000. So the total of all these is 14,500. But if you pre-order before 22nd of May, you are going to pay only 2,000 naira, which is just $6. Okay, so just imagine all you're going to learn, how transformed you're going to be with only 2,000 naira investment. You're going to have it for life, you know. And okay, this is how to pay. All right. So I am so delighted to announce to you guys that we have come to the end of this summit. And with respect to that, we are going to, for those that are on the email list, I'm going to send you the links to all the sessions so that you can rewatch them at your convenience. Okay, so I appreciate guys. What words do you guys have for us for this summit? Just, just say anything. Like, thank you everybody, thank you. Just say anything that you're happy this summit is over. Just say anything. Yeah, I appreciate you guys for the wonderful summit. I appreciate. Thank you. Okay, so while you're writing, I think I should exit now. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you too. I appreciate. Thank you. So let me go and take some vacation because I think I deserve it now. All right. If you want to contact me, you can just send me a DM or just, you can always reach me. I'm available. Thank you guys. See you again.